Okay, so what is it like learning the language in South Korea as a foreigner? In a nutshell, to answer that question, I think it depends on a lot of different things, such as where you are. If you like, for example, if you're in a rural area, then your resources will be less. And when I say resources, like you won't be able to attend a school maybe. Now, if you live in a city area, especially if it's a larger city like Seoul or Busan or something like that, then you have more or easier access to an actual formal institution where you can learn the language. But actual formal institutions, those are pretty difficult to come by unless you're in one of those booming metropolitan centers or places with a high concentration of people. And but you can if there's no school, a next option is that you can go on the internet, and you could find some organized group or something that's close to your area, depending on where you are in South Korea. And with that, you'd be highly independent on that, and it would be based on you. But it's very possible. Korea is quite tight knit when it comes to that type of thing, particularly if you don't live in a isolated rural area. If you're in connected parts of Korea, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. You just got to put in a little effort and make it happen. Um, with that said, that your next best option, which is probably the best option, especially nowadays, is online. And if you study online, some of the best tools for studying and learning Korean online is the applications where you can pay a tutor, pay someone to sit and talk to you for 30 minutes or an hour through applications. For example, italki. Italki is a popular one. It's one that I have used a lot through my studying Korean while being here. And I'll talk a little bit about these applications. I've used Skype and I've used italki, mostly italki, but with italki, and I'm guessing that any other application will be similar to italki in regards to studying the language. With italki, you basically go through a bunch of different teachers, and are they real teachers? Probably not. They're mostly regular people trying to make some extra money, or just trying to practice actually being a teacher. Some of them are real teachers. They're trying to get practice and get the feel of it. And occasionally you'll have a person that just wants to meet foreign people all over the world. And sometimes you just have someone, a college student, that's making extra money or something like this, or just people do it for various reasons. So with that said, on that, it's kind of a mixed bag on the quality of the teacher that you get, and you have to kind of vet them and look through their ratings, and watch their introduction video, and kind of really do your homework before you choose them. And with me, I know how difficult it could be with trying to choose someone based on a profile on the internet. So it was a long trial and error period, trying to learn how that worked, and who was better, and who was what worked, and that type of thing, with trying to choose a teacher. Um, with that, my experience with that in choosing a teacher was that, uh, like for me, I wanted to do full immersion. I always wanted my teacher to not speak any English at all, because I was at that point I was beyond doing that. I I already knew the basic general stuff. So I just wanted full immersion. I wanted to accelerate my learning and, just do it the hard way. But not most, but maybe half of the teachers don't want to do that. It's kind of too much work for them unless they know you. If you've been on working with them for a while and they're kind of used to you, then they'll teach you that way. But oftentimes I even saw and noticed that even when I would tell them that's how I want to be taught, they would always go against what I say and revert back to using English. And even sometimes their English was poor. My Korean was better than their English, but they still wanted to do that. And in that case, like if they just totally ignored me, it would affect how I would rate them. Now with ratings, I gave most people 5-star ratings. If they put an honest effort and they tried, I gave them a 5-star rating because I know what it's like to be a teacher, and I know how hard of work it is. So I'm real fair on that, and I don't just try to give anyone a hard time when it comes to those ratings. I want if they're trying, I want them to get the best rating. But if they just if it's very clear that they just are disregarding me or something like that, then I drop the rating. And I rarely get 4s. It's either a 5, a 3, or a 1 for me. And 5 is basically you tried. You tried and you showed some love. You cared. 3 3 is like I kind of feel like you wasted my time. Like if I think you're like trying to be rude or passive aggressive or something like this, or if I just didn't feel like you liked me or something like this, then I would probably give you a 3. And if you just totally bummed or something like this, then I would do a 1. So that was my system. I did either 1, 3, or 5. But the majority, I say 90% of my ratings were 5s. So that was with that. I did that for about 2 years, and with that, it's kind of best to find people and stick with them so that they know what you like, they know your style, they know how to talk with you and work with you, and they kind of know your personality, know what you know already. So that it's kind of best. It's one of those things where you got to play with it and learn. And as you learn, you stick with certain things that work and throw away things that don't work. Prior to just focusing on the online world of learning the language, I lived in Seoul. Yeah, part of the reason why I did the online thing, I did it for about good 2 years, of like the past 2 years. I've kind of stopped now, but and the reason is because of the current situation with the virus and stuff. So that's the main thing with that. And also, I live in a very rural area, and I don't have access to formal teaching. But prior to that, I lived in Seoul, and while living in Seoul really living in a huge, high population dense area, it gives you the best scenario for learning, I think, because you can do everything, you can put it all together, and you can use what you learn everywhere. But with Seoul, I attended an institute learning Korean with other foreigners learning Korean. There were Chinese people, there were Malaysian people, there were people, there were other like Americans, there were people from other English speaking countries in my classroom. And with that, the experience with that, it was immersion, and the teacher, she only spoke Korean. Well, she tried to keep it like that. But when it gets tough, she would, translate stuff. She didn't like to do it, and that's kind of where I try to keep doing the. That's kind of the way I try to keep doing after I took her class when I started doing online, just to just keep the full immersion thing going. But I guess the good points and the bad points with the classroom. With the classroom, when you learn in a classroom, it's a structured environment, so you can't be too free, and you're dealing with people, so you're kind of dealing with personalities a little bit. It's a classroom setting, and I guess the rigidity of it is the negative with it. But I guess the higher the level of class you take, is less rigid, and you're more free to talk about things because I guess it has to be rigid, because there needs to be structure in the class so that everyone can walk away and learn something from the class. And the good side of the class is you meet other like-minded people that are trying to learn, and it's cool to be a student. At that time this age, and I'm a student, so it was kind of weird, or not weird but unusual, but it was very interesting, being in that situation. And it also gave me more insight into my own classroom, where how my students viewed me, and I would take that the stuff that I learned while being a student and apply it in my class. So it made me a better teacher as well. And yeah, so I attended a class. Yeah, I attended these classes at night. So after I leave work from my day job, I would go and do take those classes at night, probably like 2 or 3 times per week, sometimes 3 times a week, and then sometimes 2 times a week. It alternated like that, and I took my classes like every 2 hours. You have to schedule yourself in for the classes, and the other way that I study Korean, and this is very effective too. I went to a language meetup thing, which was not too far from my Korean class, formal Korean class that I attended. So it was everything, again, being in the city, so everything is relatively close and convenient. But during the meetup, for the meetup, I went to a place called GSM. It's basically a social gathering meetup place, and they have all kinds of events and stuff. But most it's a meet and gather, socializing place. But the central theme is language exchange. But it's really a meetup place to just hang out, have drinks, and relax, whether the drinks be alcohol or whether it be coffee, tea, whatever. So it's socializing place under the umbrella of language exchange. And also you can schedule yourself for hour-long classes. They're paid, so, and it's actually pretty cheap. So um, it's like $10 for one session, which is a really really good price, a really generous price. And I talked about the italki, taking italki classes online. Those classes range from 8 till about $20 US dollars for the price. Um, that's the average range, but they go even higher depending on what your needs are and what kind of teacher you're looking for at the time. But doing the language exchange, it's the most. I thought it was the most effective way because it's face to face. You're having a one-on-one conversation with a Korean native, and you're sitting down with them. You're writing down. You're taking notes as you have the conversation. It's very natural, and you catch everything in real time, and it's very intimate. And for me, it was the absolute best way to learn. But with that, you got to have, in order to make that work, you need to have some sort of a background, which formal. You need the formal stuff first. Learn some the formal stuff, and to learn the formal stuff, it'd probably be best to start with a teacher to learn the fundamentals, how to read, write, and do studying on your own where you teach yourself the alphabet, or reading books, and you know practicing your handwriting and stuff like this, and repeatedly doing things, getting used to just using the language and doing that first, and get some type of foundation under you first before you go to the conversations with the one-on-one tutor. Um, the more you know, the more they'll be enthusiastic about working with you. It kind of You can tell it kind of brings their energy down when um, they have to like constantly have to really repeat themselves and focus too much on you when they're trying to teach you. But and when they see that you're really well invested in learning, and you know a lot, and you're putting that effort, and it really motivates them, and it by them being more motivated, it reflects back, and you both are eager to do your respective jobs. You as a student, and them as your teacher or your conversation helper, whatever you want to call it. And another way to learn the language, and this I don't know if this is the most effective or not. I guess it depends on your situation. Getting a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and if with a with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, that depends on your relationship, and your what's going on in your relationship with your significant other. But with that, yeah, they like I didn't want to bother my girlfriends when it came to that too much. When if they would if I would ask them to do that, it would usually be some type of compromise. You do this for me, and I'll do this for you. Like it depends on like if they need something, I'll do something for them in exchange for this. I would make deals like that because I didn't want to be just like just try to demand something because we're in a relationship. I don't want that to be a restraint on a relationship. So I always wanted to be give and take, give and take. I kept it like that, and I kept that separated from the relationship. I felt that it was important because I didn't want that to be any strain on the relationship or put me in some type of weird compromise later. And what else with learning the language? Okay, using the language in your everyday life. Can you learn from the people in society? Learn Korean. I think it depends on where you are. For example, I'm in the countryside. I'm on the east coast of Korea on the countryside, and it's very very different from the Seoul area and the other like the western side of Korea. The people are just very different, and when I say very different, I don't think they experience that many foreigners. So like their willingness to talk to a foreigner and be brave and express themselves and be comfortable around you. There's a much lower tolerance for that. So I've seen like when I say much lower tolerance, people get you can see they visibly get stressed out when they see you coming and trying to talk to them. Even when you're trying to you speak in Korean and you're putting up a good showing of yourself, people get really stressed out sometimes, more so here than like if I were in Seoul or even anywhere near Seoul somewhere, where people would be more eager to help you, particularly if you have some type of ability to speak for yourself. But one of the biggest things I notice here, particularly in talking, I guess this applies to all over Korea, but especially here in the rural area, is a big thing to get people to talk to you and kind of have a conversation with you so you can practice, or not even just practice. Sometimes you may really need to make a point or express yourself or do something, and you have to talk to people. And one of what I realized, what something that helps me is be really really confident, be really really confident, and of course be friendly. If you walk up, if you step to someone and you're like kind of shy and timid, it's even like be as direct as possible. Even if you're being direct carries more weight than being kind, from what I've seen. Like if you say something, you talk to someone, you do it with high confidence and you mean it, and then the person gives you that back. If you if you come to a person with low confidence, no matter how kind you are, that the worse the reaction you'll get from them. And that's been my situation. And if you're of course, and also the people they're just like, if you're in a place where that's they don't see foreigners and stuff, they'll look at you and they'll kind of panic, even if you are fluent Korean speaking foreigner. So you would have to talk to them and a little bit, and kind of warm them up, and make them not intimidated by you, and by I guess being polite, but still being very direct. And what are some other ways to learn Korean as a foreigner while living here? Um, I've done activities where there's lots of other foreigners and doing that, but I think that's the least effective way. But it is effective. It gives you a bridge. You're using English, but you hear people using Korean here and there, and you can pick up things. But I think it's least effective in when you being around other foreigners. But it's a bridge. It can help you get your foot in the door to use the language on a more complicated platform. And of course, making friends here, making friends is a good way to learn the language here. And that's that can get tough because it's kind of intimate, and you're talking about friendships, and you not being able to speak to them, or them not being able to speak to you, that's going to be a strain right from the beginning. So as far as with the friendship and it helping you, it's iffy. It could work, but I think that works better in like a group setting. If there's some type of situation where you have like a friend group of Korean people that that speak Korean, and it's a group of you, and you're together. That's a decent way to learn. But I think the most important thing with all of this is you lay that foundation um, by studying by yourself at home. Just putting not going too crazy with it, because if you go too crazy with it, you're too aggressive, it will burn you out. And your mind definitely is a muscle. One thing I've noticed is that um, if I've studied like really hard for months at a time, and then I start getting dumber and start like not remembering stuff that I should remember, and then I take a month off, completely take the month off, and then it's like I get way stronger, and things just kind of just flow out of me. It's like it's kind of like it's a muscle. Your mind is a muscle, and it you if you exercise, you lift weights, you have to give your muscles that time for them to grow and get stronger. And it's definitely very true with learning the language. You gotta take that time off. Gotta take that time off. And at work, another good way, and I'll end the video with by saying this. Another, I think this is probably the most important way, or the best way, is um, your job. Start with your job. Whatever your job is, learn all the Korean that's associated with your job. If you're a teacher and you teach students, learn how to say the stuff, all the small introduction stuff to your students. Learn how to say all that stuff in Korean, and learn all those little things that are in the book, those transitional things that guide the students to do lesson to lesson and activity. Learn how to say all those things in Korean. Learn how to give all the little instructions in Korean. And when you come across like a word that you don't know, even in a classroom, make a very strong effort to write that down right away. And after the class, memorize that word or memorize that phrase. It'll stick with you that much more better because you're actually using those words and that performance in your real life setting, in a real life setting, in a real situation. And it's authentic to you, it's real to you, so it really sticks with you, and you'll learn it and you won't forget it. It'll stay installed in you. And if you work at if you're an office worker or an IT worker or some other profession, of course, you want to learn the words and key phrases and things that are very common to your profession, and really focus on those things. And that will be your bridge to learning the Korean language in other parts of your life in Korea. So, you want to start with, your work life stuff, the stuff you have to say, the stuff you see, the stuff you have to do every day in your regular work life, and start from there. Always start with the familiar. Start with the familiar. It'll branch you out to other things much more organically, and it'll be really smooth if you do it that way. So that's my video on learning Korean as a foreigner in South Korea. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And, this is my experience, of course, and I'm one person. Korea's relatively huge. It's a country it's somewhat diverse, and there's a bunch of different experiences to be had all over Korea. So, my experience is just my experience, and there's a lot of other ways of looking at this and other ways that this expresses itself in South Korea. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much. Y'all take it easy.